Well, hello there, tuber-tubers and tuberettes alike. It's yet another short talk at the trailer park with the old guy. And boy, look at that hair, huh? Looking real good. I it's been a rough winter, and I have not posted anything in probably 2 months. I actually don't even remember the last time I posted. But got some bad news early in February, and then it turned out to be a real stink bomb in March. I had a brother in Albuquerque who was diagnosed with a brain cancer in late January. And this form of cancer is fatal, like every time. There are no survivors. And so that was quite a shock. And I was frankly depressed and just sort of, I guess you'd say, stunned. It felt like I got hit in the head with a hammer. And I couldn't hardly think right. And so anyway, it turned out just like 5 weeks later, 6 weeks later, he was kaput. And went up to the funeral service in Albuquerque last Saturday. Saw a lot of friends and family up there that I hadn't seen in probably years. You know, I got nieces and nephews that came in, and a grandnephew or two, and grandniece or two. And it's just been a raggedy winter. And then this whole thing, this fiasco that Trump started with his little buddy over there, that lunatic Netanyahu, bombing the absolute snot out of Iran, and looks like Iran has zero interest in negotiating because, well, the last two times in a row, the U.S. was in the middle of negotiations, supposedly, and it was then that they attacked, last year in June, and then this year, February 28th, and of course, that fiasco is still going on, and it's costing about 1.1 or 1.2 billion, that's with a B, dollars every day for the U.S. military to be there, doing what they're doing, dropping bombs out the wazoo and whatnot. Then there's the soldiers and sailors and Marines, and they're going to send in Marines now, which of course again Trump promised he would not do. And so I've been thinking more and more lately. And, I don't really like how the modern left controls the conversation by comparing everyone they dislike to Adolf, who. And I don't ordinarily do that, and I don't go in for it. But in this case, I keep thinking, there are some strange parallels here where a strong streak of nationalism, a opposition, a total opposition to the political left, which also I think I agree with, the political left and the Marxists and all that it's just destructive nonsense. And yet the idea of a national greatness being restored, and if the MAGA coalition, which at one point late in 2024 was perhaps one of the strongest coalitions of different groups, different folks gathered together, uniting around several ideas which Trump was mouthing, but he never meant a word of it. The guy's a liar through and through. I don't care what the guy has to say anymore. I don't even listen to him anymore. If it's coming out of his mouth, there's an old Bill Clinton joke, and it really applies. How can you tell when Bill Clinton is lying? His mouth is moving. And so, I mean, this guy, he's atrocious. And yet, in all of this, I keep searching around trying to find some sense of a good news. And, the church that I go to is politically, I would say, dormant at the very best. I never hear a word about this conflict over there. It's like it's not even going on. And I find that very dissatisfying. But then on the other hand, you have the premillennial dispensational fanatics who are also frequently, but not not uniformly, lined up with this Zionist fascination of a greater Israel and all of that blather. It's confusing to look at, and when you're being hit by personal disaster and then watching essentially the nation falling apart, what was, I guess you'd call it, a great empire, the U.S., it's going through really what I understand to be historically the death throes of an empire. empires go up, they kind of level off, and then they go down. And as they're going down, there are recognizable historical parallels that pop up. And the U.S. is showing a lot of them. And, it's very frustrating. And I don't know who to talk to. I don't know who to listen to, hardly even. So, of course, I spend way too much time looking at this YouTube junk, and an awful lot of it is junk. And I mean, it's sort of like, you can usually tell because, the header on the thing says, a real jaw-dropping, earth-shaking development just now occurred, and it's like, the darn thing's 17 minutes long. It's like, cut to the chase, bub. And what is the announcement? And so often, you go through there and you find out that the header, the title of the thing, had nothing whatsoever to do with the topic. And so, and there's, you can hear everything. You can hear some people who are fascinated with Trump talking about, well, we're on the verge of victory here. Yeah, the war is basically won. Except the Iranians didn't get that memo, apparently. And the Israelis are off doing their own thing. Trump specifically said that we will, that is, who is the we here? The United States and Israel? No, just the United States alone will not attack Iranian energy facilities. Well, boom, there goes Israel. They're blowing up, I've already forgotten the name of it. It's a huge oil field in Iran, and Iran is punching back. They're taking out facilities in several Mideast countries, plus bombing the absolute snot out of Tel Aviv, among other places. Haifa has been hit really hard too. But of course, the Israelis are chronic liars, and they will not admit the damage at all. Everything is censored, and I think it's technically illegal to bring a phone into Israel and record actually what's happening during these strikes. I don't know about the reality of that either. So it's sort of this weird world where almost everything you hear seems to have this countervalent and opposite reality to it, where both claims which are directly oppose each other are somehow being claimed at the same time. So it's a propaganda war on top of everything else. So I'd like to just encourage you that there is good news in all of this, that the real good news, and it's not Zionism, but it's the real Zion. In other words, the city of God, which is, as Augustine pointed out, across every nation, across every culture, across all of history, God is gathering up a people. And he's taking people like you and me who were, born his enemies and really wanted nothing to do with him and frankly despised him. He's turning us. He's making us into allies, so to speak, friends. But more than that, he's gone way out of his way and even adopted us into his household. I think that this whole streak of dispensationalist so-called theology is just a train wreck. All of these people talking about this stuff about a secret rapture and it's got to be coming soon and yada yada. Shut up. The entire rapture schmapture garbage boat, it's only been around since like the 1820s, first of all. But secondly, it's not biblical at all, as far as I can tell. And so the true structure is the covenantal structure, to understand that God had made a covenant with man called the covenant of works, although you won't find that in the Bible. But essentially it worked out between him and our father Adam and Eve, our mother, to obey and to do as he said, and he would bless. It was about that confounding there. And of course our parents bailed out on that and gave him the finger. And we're paying the price. You look around at a world that has been wrecked essentially by sin, and then you look within yourself, and then you look, you're close to your family, people are dying around you. I had a good friend. I used to work with the guy. Early in February, he decided to, what in the world is that? I've been hearing a lot of helicopters and stuff going overhead lately. I don't like helicopters. I don't know. I just fundamentally distrust them. But anyway, the situation is that we're observing the death of a culture. We're observing this decay, and yet the good news is that this new kingdom, the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven, has come. It is manifested. It is manifesting. But it's not manifesting politically necessarily. It's not manifesting as this huge economic, bulwark of, a gang of billionaires or something like that. It's changing people from the inside out, taking us who defied God, and yeah, that is annoying. The other day it was weird. I went out in the morning. I'm changing subjects, by the way. And I heard something akin to this, although not quite as loud. And I stepped outdoors. It was still dark it was early in the morning, probably 5:30. And I could hear it, and I swear it was overhead somewhere because of the sound. And yet, I never saw a single light. And I thought, how could that be? So I don't know. But anyway, I guess, the U.S. is probably on higher levels of alertness now, watching out for domestic terrorists and et cetera, and then also the sleeper cells, which could be woken up by orders coming from Tehran. And so, you got to think about the U.S. is really quite vulnerable in a lot of ways. There's a lot of real easy picking targets, which would be crippling blows for the U.S. if terrorists decide to carry them out. I got this itchy nose thing. So I'm taking all kinds of time off. I'm just kind of shifting around here a little bit topic-wise. But I'm taking a lot of time off these days because, my back is kind of done. And, to be honest with you, I got set aside at work. I was doing a job, and apparently I allowed a few four-letter words out of my mouth in the hearing of one of the customers, and I'm guessing it was the lady. Well, she decided to inform the office, and I've been informed that I can no longer work around customers. And I said, well, then I guess I'm out of a job. And the guy running the office said, well, not necessarily, as long as we can find you work where you're not around customers. So it's sort of like, as long as you want to go work on houses that are vacated or out in the middle of a field somewhere where they can't hear what you're saying, But I was just so frustrated that day because my back is bad. I was in pain. I was trying to get this job done, and my mind was all cloudy. And I was trying to figure out this. Really, it was a fairly simple problem, and it was confounding me. And I felt like I was under the gun, clockwise. I got to fix this. I got to make it happen. Got to go. And I was falling behind. So I think some four-letter words emerged, which were probably unseemly, and I'm paying the price for it, among other things. So got a lot of doctor's visits coming up, probably too many. And I'm still thinking about doing a fusion surgery, which when I heard about this option last November, I just scoffed. I just thought, you've got to be nuts to think to me that, you're telling me that you're going to do work on my spine from the front? Because I was thinking about it as a plumber. You got a broken water line or a broken sewer down there. What do? Well, you dig it up, So you got a sewer this wide. So you dig a hole 18 inches wide, and you think, well, the bad area is 2 feet long, so you dig it 4 feet long. All of that dirt, including the dirt underneath the pipe, has to come out before you can even start. And I thought, what are you going to do with all the parts that are in the way on the way in? So anyway, there's another wrinkle that nobody in Las Cruces here is authorized or capable or whatever it is to do that kind of work. So I'd have to go to either El Paso or Albuquerque, and I have no intention of going to Albuquerque. I grew up there, but I can hardly stand being there. Anyway, it's just way too big, in my opinion. But so now I'm going to go down and talk to a surgeon on Thursday, and I haven't met with this guy. I don't know him, and he doesn't know me. So he's going to look over the things, the facts, the reality, and then he'll come up with his own contusions on that. And so who knows, I may be, if I do get a spinal fusion surgery, I'll be out of the plumbing biz for sure, probably for the rest of my life, but at the very minimum, probably 3 to 6 months. And that's being optimistic. And so I'd hate to see what the pessimistic view is, but the thing is, I've heard a lot of people who have complications from fusion, and they went in with one problem and they emerged with three new ones. And so I don't want to get into that endless cycle of in and out of hospitals and stuff like that. But at 67, I guess I'm just kind of falling apart over here. It's so strange. For all my life until probably 3 years ago, I never went to doctors, never, unless I absolutely had to, and which was very rare. Probably in 30 years of working, 40 years of working down here in Las Cruces, I probably went to 2 doctors, once or twice, and that was it. So anyway, all that's changed around, and so it's a new world for me, and I'm having a real hard time adjusting, trying to figure out what you do as a retiree. I've never had any real ambition to be retired, because I thought, well, then what are you going to do with yourself all day? And I thought, well, apparently I'm going to sit around and make YouTube videos about Donald J. Who you know who he is. And nobody cares about that. If you're all on that, trying to keep up to date and all that good stuff, I hope you can find a reliable source of news, because I've pretty much given up on listening to the media, and so I mean, you feel all alone, and so that's the net result of all of this world pressure and this decay and this disgusting capacity of things to kind of go south. Is that you yourself end up feeling like you're all alone, like you're the only one, and no one around you can apparently even realize, and yet everyone is feeling the same thing at the same time. And so it is confusing, and yet in terms of the good news, you are not alone. You've never been alone. The living God who raised Jesus from the dead is at work in you if you, believe that he is in fact Lord, that would be Lord God to you, Mr. the Almighty, and also that he busted out of the tomb, that he broke the power of death. He is alive again in a new and living body, and in that very same body he ascended up, and the apostles saw him go. And we perhaps in our time might live, if we live that long, we might live to see him come back in that same body, except this time glorified and equipped for war. I just kind of wanted to finish with this. In the end, evil is done. Evil has been judged, and it will be destroyed. All of it. It will be swept away, absolutely. And so when you think about the great revolution, the treason that the enemy started in heaven once upon a time, and got all those other angels to join with him, well, the Lord sat on his throne and spoke to Michael the archangel and said, get those clowns out of here. And they were cast down to earth. And if you ever read the Narnia, but not the Narnia, sorry, the Narnia books are good, but the Space Trilogy books, there's a premise in there that Lewis has, which I really liked, and I don't know if there's anything to it biblically, but it kind of lines up more with Platonic thought, that the evil bent one, who is our overlord in charge of this planet, is limited to the orbit of the moon. He can't get beyond that. So, whether there's anything to that or not, but anyway, they were cast down to earth. The Lord sat on his throne and commanded, but this time it's different. He's showing up on his own war horse and shall wield his own sword, which is also the sword of his spirit proceeding from his mouth. The power of the word of God in person, this time in fury. And to me, that's good news. I'd love to see the end of this chaos and BS, wouldn't you? And yet, it means such a huge transition, and we can't really begin to guess how good things will be. But we know this, that the glories of the coming age are beyond our capacity right now to even imagine, much less clearly elucidate. We have symbols streets of gold. We have symbols of a great city with 12 gates and all kinds of good stuff. And so I wouldn't say that that stuff's wrong, but what I mean is that the goodness of it is so extraordinarily excellent that we only get a small taste of it, but it's a real taste. If you've been waked from the dead, if you've been called to trust the Messiah, then that's resurrection power. That's kingdom power alive in you. And what he starts, he will finish. He will not lose even one of his children. Don't you worry about that. He knows what he's doing. So God bless you, and run to win. And I hope that this little word from down here isn't too darn depressing for you. You know, if you want to watch something interesting, instead not interesting, but something to just kind of, you know, take your mind off of things. I watched a crazy little movie not too long ago, and it was a clever show. It's kind of a con man story, but I'm not going to tell you the plot. But it's an old western, The Little Lady with the Big Hand, and you check it out if you'd like. It's got a surprise ending to it, which is going to blow your socks off. But it's you know, it's something to help refocus on, that perhaps there is still something that can be, you know, gathered together among humans to represent a unity among those who, you know, like in the Third Reich, there were some Christians who opposed, you know who, the knucklehead in charge. And I hope that some Christians can come together in this land to oppose the knucklehead we have in charge. He is not to be trusted. Full stop. And I think if you haven't learned that by now, you're just not paying attention. Pay attention. You have a good day. God bless you.